If you clicked on this video, you're probably already eating meat every day. But in today's video, I'm going to share 3 super easy things you can stop doing before you eat meat to get the best possible day-to-day results on your carnivore diet. So stick around to the end to make sure you're not making these common mistakes. Now, let's dive right in. The first thing that I've learned to stop doing before eating my plate of meat is to keep all of that rendered melted fat in my pan or in my oven tray and actually pouring it onto my plate of meat. I see a lot of new carnivores cook up their fatty meat meals and pour all of that liquid fat left over the meat. They eat their entire meal, they feel fine, and about 30 minutes to an hour later, they get hit with a wave of nausea, heartburn, or they have to go run to the toilet because they have loose stools. Also, when you're consuming animal fats in its liquid form, it can be very easy to overdo it without actually realizing it. Your digestive system responds by increasing bile and enzymes to break it down, which can trigger a pretty immediate feeling of nausea and even diarrhea. A lot of carnivores have issues with loose stools and indigestion, and when I bring up this tip, it usually fixes it really quickly. Even though you can probably optimize your carnivore meals by avoiding rendered fat, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should be wasting it either. So I do recommend pouring all of that liquid, amazing fat into a spare glass mason jar or a bowl. Let it cool down in your fridge and just use it as your go-to cooking oil. If you're confused by what I mean when it comes to rendered melted fat, it's basically the liquid fat that oozes out of your fatty meat when you cook it. So here is what came out of my ground beef patties when I cooked it. What I usually do is I save this fat, pour it into a glass dish like this, and the fat actually turns white and solid when you put it in the fridge. This is my favorite way to use beef fat and all the rendered fat that collects. I'll just cut out chunks like this and use it as a cooking oil whenever I fry up my eggs, and sometimes I even just eat it as a solid fat snack. In my experience, I've consistently been able to digest fat much easier when it's in its solid form as opposed to its liquid form. And I suspect this is because when the animal fat is in its liquid form, it just passes through our GI tract too quickly to be properly digested. This is why I intentionally eat my butter and cooked ground beef cold, so it's easier to digest as a high-fat carnivore. For most people, especially those with sensitive digestion, or if you are a new carnivore, I do recommend having cold animal fats like butter or solid chilled tallow instead of the rendered fat if you prioritize having a high-fat carnivore way of eating. This is actually what I do to this day. It's why I love my cold sticks of butter as my fat side to all of my carnivore meals. If you're completely fat adapted and you have no issues with tolerating melted, rendered, cooked fats, it doesn't give you digestion issues or nausea or diarrhea, then by all means go ahead and enjoy it if you love pouring it on your meats. The second thing that I've learned to stop doing before my carnivore meals is drinking too much water, and not just water, any liquid in general. So if you're drinking tea, coffee, decaf coffee, sparkling water, try not to drink too much of the liquid before you're about to eat your carnivore meals. I learned this pretty quickly in the beginning of my carnivore journey when I made both the mistake of pouring all of my rendered fats onto my meals and combining it with drinking a lot of water before, during, and after my meals. This really contributed to the waves of nausea that I suffered with initially, as well as all of the bathroom trips where I ran to the toilet and ended up having loose stools. Sorry if it's TMI, but when I made these 2 simple changes where I minimized drinking water before, during, and after meals and avoiding drinking the rendered fat, it made a world of a difference in my overall nausea, loose stools, diarrhea, and digestion in general. Instead, I recommend drinking water moderately 30 to 45 minutes prior to your meals and hydrating properly with electrolytes if needed. Since we're on the topic of staying hydrated, I wanted to share that after going carnivore, I've personally noticed that I'm just not as thirsty in general. And I attribute that to being incredibly high fat. All of the fats that I'm eating is hydrating my cells and my body. Therefore, I just don't need to drink as much water throughout the day. My choice of hydration on the daily is just filtered water, but I wanted to share my love for this Gerolsteiner sparkling water. This is now my favorite dessert to end all of my carnivore meals. All I do is just serve it in a nice glass and enjoy. Since going carnivore, I basically just drink to thirst, but I also understand that if you're new to carnivore, electrolyte imbalance can be common. And when you have electrolyte imbalance, it can contribute to symptoms like fatigue, headache, lower energy in the gym, and muscle cramping. So if you're looking to resolve your electrolyte imbalance, you can simply just salt all of your carnivore meals a little bit more generously. And if that doesn't do the trick, you can also lean on a high quality electrolyte supplement. This is the one that I recommend. It's from the brand Element, and specifically this blue teal colored box labeled raw unflavored. This one has no stevia, just the 3 electrolytes, sodium, potassium, and magnesium. This is what each of the packets look like. You simply just rip one open, pour it in whatever you're drinking, mix it up, drink it down, and you are good to go. You all can get a free sample pack with any drink mix purchase if you go to the URL shown on the screen, drinkelementi.com/SBGAL. I've also linked them down below. The third thing that I've learned to stop doing before my carnivore meals is measuring out my meals beforehand. A lot of you might be sensitive about making sure you know the exact metrics of just how much or how little meat you're eating. All this does is bring unnecessary time and, for many, hardship and anxiety to your meals. So for me personally, I spent a whole decade of obsessing over counting calories, restricting, portion controlling, measuring and tracking, and making sure that I never went over a set number of calories for each day of eating. And this can be extremely taxing and exhausting. Not only is your mental health going to take a hit, but having all that unnecessary stress in your daily life is also not going to help in your weight loss goals or your healing goals. So I bring this up because if you find yourself leaning towards obsessing over the numbers, obsessing over counting calories, or tracking in general, I encourage you to take a step back and try to tune into your body. What is your body telling you it needs? And it's okay if you're not 100% clear when you do tune in. That's the whole beauty of going on this carnivore diet and being open to learning more about your body. So I personally think it's a better idea to cook a little bit more meat than you think you can eat. That's always going to be better than measuring out your meat, thinking that you only need, let's say, 1 pound of meat, eating it, and you're still hungry. So again, the best approach is to listen to your body and let your natural hunger cues guide you. Remember, the carnivore diet is all about simplicity and returning to our natural eating instincts. By freeing yourself from the rigidity of measuring every meal, you can enjoy your food a lot more and create a more sustainable and enjoyable eating experience. And look, if you have leftover meat because you can't finish all the meat that you cooked, just put it in a Pyrex bowl, put it in the fridge, enjoy it the next day cold, and thank me later. Just by avoiding these 3 simple actions before you eat your carnivore meals, I am confident that you'll feel better and more confident on your carnivore diet. For those of you who stuck around until now, I'm going to quickly give you 2 more of my favorite bonus tips to try next time before you eat for a better experience and result. The 4th thing I've learned to stop doing before my carnivore meals is eating my meat hot or immediately after cooking it, because it just tastes so much better when you let it cool off and rest. Letting your meat rest after cooking allows the juices to redistribute evenly, ensuring a juicier and more flavorful result. Cutting into the meat immediately after cooking causes the juices to escape, leading to dryness. Resting also helps the meat retain its shape and texture, making for a better overall eating experience. So let that meat rest for at least 3 to 5 minutes to do its magic before you dig in, and I promise you it's going to be worth the wait. And lastly, this tip is for anyone who has trouble getting in quality sleep or staying asleep. If you find that your sleep quality after going carnivore has decreased, or you find it difficult to stay asleep, maybe due to muscle cramping or heartburn, nausea, it could possibly be due to eating your last meal a little too close to bedtime. So something simple that you can start doing today to hopefully increase your sleep is to move that last meal up a little bit earlier in the day, so that you leave at least a chunk of 3 hours of time for your body to digest all of that food before you lie down to fall asleep. This doesn't have to do with anything before eating the meal, but I wanted to share that a habit that I do every single day now that has really dramatically improved my digestion and just overall well-being is taking a nice after meal stroll. So whether that be lunch, if I'm eating a 2-mad day, after eating, I will always get myself outside, get in some steps, some light activity, enjoy the weather now that it's getting so beautiful here in Seattle, to really help my body digest all that meat and fat that I ate. For those of you who want more of these tips and tricks, truly genius carnivore advice to fuel your health journey, or just more like-minded friends to cheer you on, I welcome you to join us in the Steak and Butter Gang community. We really pride ourselves on being a safe place for all of you to mingle, learn, and support each other. I've met some of the most amazing human beings through this community and really see all the members in the gang as my family. You can work with the most incredible team of loving carnivore coaches, and you can also learn from our amazing panel of carnivore experts and doctors by submitting your questions for them every single week. For more details and to join the tribe, just go to the URL shown on the screen, sbgmeetup.com, or check out the links down below in the description box. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. SBG out.